Hi, and welcome back to the Conservative Lens. I am Rorschach. So this will be another video on masculinity. In this video I'm going to talk about how the interactions between men and women are supposed to work and why gender roles play a role. No pun intended. If you haven't seen my first two videos on masculinity, I recommend checking those out. A link will be in the description below. But a quick recap for those of you who haven't seen them. In those videos I talk about the importance of masculinity and why, if you're having dating problems, you should start with your masculinity before working on other things like confidence or game or dating strategies or anything like that, because all of those things are built upon your masculine identity. It's the societal role which you play, and it's what women expect of you. And women have these inbuilt expectations around how dating is going to work, and they expect you to fulfill these expectations. So if you don't, they won't feel attracted to you and they won't understand why. It's because it's at such a deep fundamental level that it's hard for them to put into words why things are not working out. And you will probably think it's to do with your confidence, or maybe it's because you don't have a six-pack, or maybe it's because you don't have a good enough job. But in a lot of cases it's not really any of those things, it's just how masculine you are. And if, like me, you didn't have a father figure growing up, in my case, as I said, my father died when I was a teenager, then you didn't really have anybody to teach you how to act in a way that society expects of a man. So you can sort of emulate what it means to be a man, but if you were never taught that, you might not really get it, and it can be quite hard to understand. It took me a long time to understand, but because I finally figured it out, I can explain it to you, and hopefully this stuff will make sense to you and you can use it in your own lives. And the very basic dynamic that is in play in the interaction between men and women is that men act and women react. And that simple sentence sums up how interactions between men and women are supposed to work, and it sums up the roles of the different genders. And I'll say that with that saying, with men act and women react, it's obviously, it's 95% of the time. There are going to be exceptions where maybe she will act and you will react, but in general, if you find yourself reacting to her, something is wrong. And an example of reacting is you worry about what she thinks about you. You worry about whether she likes you. You worry about whether she finds you attractive. You're already in the wrong frame of mind. You're already in the wrong frame of reference if that's happening. You shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be acting. And I know that some of these things are hard to put into practice. If you've been in this way of thinking for your whole life, where you're worried about what other people think about you, you're worried about what women think about you, maybe your biggest dream is to be asked out by a woman you find attractive, your fantasy is that she asks you out. Well, this is why. It's because you crave her validation and you want her to act. But you should realize this is not how things work, and this is not how she wants it to work. What she expects is for you to act and ask her out. And she expects you to not second guess yourself or overthink it or worry about whether she likes you or worry about whether, she's just got over her breakup with her boyfriend. She's not expecting you to think about that. She's expecting you to want her and to ask her out. And if you follow these things as much as is possible, then you'll have the success that you want. I mean, in general, obviously there's caveats, and not everyone is going to like you no matter what you do. But this is what you need to keep in mind when it comes to dating, that men act and women react. And this is also in a way where confidence comes from, because if you keep to this mindset and you don't react too much, your confidence comes out as a result of this. Because if you don't react too much, I should say. I mean, obviously there's always going to be a reaction. You watch her body language and you see what she's doing and saying, and you react to that, and that is that is implicit. But the important point is that most of your interaction is in the acting space, in that you are the primary initiator of these interactions, and you're not second guessing yourself. And that comes from being the primary initiator of actions and not the receiving party. Giving and receiving, basically. You give energy to her and she receives it. And you read her state, you read her body language, and you can see whether she's receptive to you or not, but you don't overthink whether that is the case or not. Obviously you need to know when to walk away, but yeah, so this may have been a bit of a rambling explanation, but hopefully it makes sense that the way you think about it, the simplest way to conceptualize it in your mind is to keep in mind men act and women react. And if you find yourself worrying about what she thinks about you, if you find yourself second guessing your behavior, second guessing your actions, there is a problem. And just one more thing, I'll say that changing behavior is difficult because it relies upon things that we believe about ourselves that are rooted deeply. So even if you understand this, I understand it'll take some time for you to change the way that you think and therefore act based on this. But it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. If you try and hold it in your mind that this is something that you need to work on, and you monitor your interactions with women, and you keep in mind this fact that you need to act and she needs to react. If you keep that in mind, things will come out. Okay. It might not happen overnight. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take a couple of months, but eventually you will get it right. So that's what I wanted to say today. I thought I'd keep this video relatively short and sweet. I hope it's been interesting and informative for you. Even if you don't agree, I hope it makes you think. And as you know, YouTubers just starting out like myself find it very difficult to get subscribers and to get likes. So if you are watching this, I would greatly appreciate it if you were to like and subscribe. And